The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. For the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Starstream Cable, and on XZoneRadioTV.com and XZoneTV.com. If you'd like to give us a call toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My first guest tonight, X-Zone Nation, is Marilou Trask-Curtin, and she is a published author. She has a brand new memoir out entitled In My Grandfather's House, a Catskill Journey. It chronicles her life growing up in, Oneonta, New York. Her husband and her friend Marilou still reside in the house that her grandfather built in 1923. The book is available on Amazon.com, and she is also a playwright and screenwriter. 2 of her screenplays have been placed highly in contest. One of these, A Tale of Angelic Intervention, Lisa's Angels, was a finalist in the Screenplay Festival Competition. And she is presently working on a biography with input from Emmy and Tony award-winning actor Hal Holbrook, as well as several paranormal fiction and non-fiction books. And Marilou, welcome to the X-Zone.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Tell me, where did your love for the paranormal come from?
Well, it came from my grandfather originally, the old Irishman who was a grave digger in Ireland, and used to regale me with tales of digging up the bodies to replace them with other ones and seeing ghosts in the swamps on the way home at night.
So I guess that was the groundwork for the work that you do now.
Yes, it is.
All right, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Please stand by. Our X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Marilou Trask-Curtin, and we're going to be talking to her about communication with the other side, angelic intervention, and much more. Her latest book, In My Grandfather's House, a Catskill Journey, is available on Amazon.com, and from her publisher, ProStar Publications. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our main website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And if you'd like to listen to the X-Zone Radio Show 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, then boy, do I have a treat for you. Just go to www.xzonetv.com. That's www.xzonetv.com. And if you'd like to get a complimentary copy of the July 2010 X Chronicles newspaper, send an email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and I will be more than happy to send you the link to the newspaper with the compliments of our many fine advertisers. I'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, here in the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Marilou Trask-Curtin is our guest this hour. Marilou is the author of In My Grandfather's House, a Catskill Journal. And what happened to cause you to be able to communicate with the other side?
Well, about the age of almost 4, I like to say, I contracted pneumonia and was taken to a local hospital, and I was put into a bed with an oxygen tent, and then the magic started to happen.
What kind of magic?
Well, just before I lapsed into unconsciousness, I remember seeing a golden, sort of a glowing light that hovered just outside the plastic tent. And the light, I remember the light didn't hurt my eyes, and it just emitted total loving feelings to me, and I knew it was there to protect me. The being in the light spoke always in my mind. You never needed words to speak with. And that stayed, and then later, a little girl that I remember was dressed in an outfit that was from another time and place. She had long blonde hair done in curls, and she had really pretty blue eyes. And she told me in my mind that her name was Emmy. And she really wanted me to take her hand and come play with her, where she showed me these children playing they were playing tag in this beautiful meadow. I remember watching them, but I refused to take her hand because something told me that if I did, I wouldn't be alive anymore. The angel being, which I knew from my religious upbringing at the time, stayed with me until I just woke up one day. And when the nurse came to check on me, I watched this light drift up into the corner of the hallway where my bed was. And it whispered in my mind, "You'll be all right now." And then it vanished.
The light, was it an angel?
Yes, I know. Yes, because I was raised a Catholic, and angels were very prominent in our religion when I was growing up. And I always knew that angels were beings of light, but even as young as 4, I knew that this was a protection that it was there to watch over me.
Could you tell us about any other communication that you've had over the years with the other side?
Well, I've had a lot of communication with the other side. I remember a few months after I was back home from the hospital, my grandparents took me to my first funeral. The woman who had passed away had been a friend of my grandparents. I didn't remember her. But during the funeral mass, I remember looking up and seeing this really nice old lady standing by this big box that was near the front of the church. And, of course, that was the casket, but I did not know that at the time. The woman waved at me, and I just waved back to her very carefully. I remember I was able to see right through her to the altar, and I also remember she had on a blue dress. She started crying and reached out toward the people sitting in the front pews, but they didn't see her at all. And that made me very sad that nobody was responding to this lady. I must have been I was a very loving child, and I couldn't understand why somebody wasn't responding to somebody crying. Well, I looked up from my little prayer book I had, and she had vanished. And then later, they wheeled the casket to the back of the church, and Grandpa picked me up and told me to, I held on. I remember holding on the side of the casket, looking down at this lady, and I was amazed that it was the very same lady that had been waving to me a few minutes ago. He told me to give her a kiss because she'd been such a good, kind friend to him and my grandmother. And I leaned down, and the first thing that I remember feeling was nothing. There was a feeling that there was an emptiness there. I kissed her face, and I remember it being very cold and very hard, and I knew that she was dead because, of course, my grandfather, regaling me with tales of, Irish tales of death and spirits, I'd grown up with that. But later, I just pondered on that for a while. Of course, I didn't tell anybody. None of these experiences did I share with my grandparents or with anybody because you're living in an age then when those things really weren't discussed. I mean, Grandpa would have understood to some extent, but I still kept it secret. Later on, it was as though this whole experience in the hospital had opened a portal in my soul for this communication. And we used to visit the cemetery down the road where my grandparents' children were buried, and we'd take flowers and so forth. And I had my next encounter on Memorial Day of that year with the ghost of a little girl who was standing by her tombstone and talked to me in her mind about her death, which I later found out she had drowned in the river near my home here. And then no more than another few months passed, and we had an upstairs in the house that I was not allowed to go into. But one day, I sort of snuck upstairs, and there was a little boy up there. I could, again, see through this little boy. And he told me his name was Edward and that he used to live here. And, of course, I then knew who he was because my grandparents had told me about their son, Edward Jr., who had been hit by a car in front of the house here in 1935 and died of his injuries. Edward and I played. I remember he always liked to play word association games. He would make a sound like a cat and say, "Tell me what that is," and I would say cat. But all this happened upstairs and in my mind, and to my way of thinking, strangely enough, there was nothing odd or unusual to me to be mind talking with this little boy. There was nothing scary. There were no cold spots. There was nothing. There was just a warming, loving presence.
No, this Edward is actually your uncle, right?
Right. Well, my grandparents, he would have been my uncle. My mother was adopted by my grandparents, and I grew up in the house with them after she went away to nursing school. But he would have been my uncle, yes.
Yeah. So, how long did you have this secret rendezvous with your uncle?
Well, it took I would say about when I was 6.5. He came one day and actually showed me there was a little door in the closet, a little wall upstairs, and there was a little closet that ran along the length of the back of the house, just a crawl space. And he told me to go to this little door and reach in, and I'd find something there that had belonged to him. Well, I did as he said. I opened this little door, and the wallpaper crinkled and rattled, and I reached in, and I found this metal airplane. It was, a biplane, and I took it out, and he said, you play with that. I have to go now. I can't come here anymore. And he cautioned me at that time, do not tell my mother, grandmother, about my visits because it will make her just terribly sad. And he was just gone. That was the end of Edward. He wasn't upstairs anymore and so forth. I remember coming downstairs with the airplane and trying to hide it, but my grandmother saw it and asked me, where did you get that? And I said, I just found it upstairs, Grandma. And I ran out the door to the swing that was on the tree, and I looked up into the upstairs window, and I saw Junior looking down at me and smiling, and because I was playing with the airplane then, and that was the end of Junior at that point.
What other encounters have you had? It seems as if you are a very gifted lady.
Well, thank you. I didn't think so, when I was young, because it seemed to set me apart a little bit from others. And, of course, once again, you couldn't share this with anybody. So it was all secretive. Other interventions, of course, I'd really get into are the angelic ones, which were incredible, absolutely incredible. Of course, the first visitation, I already mentioned.
Yes, in the hospital, yeah.
Right. The next happened when I was 16 years old, and I was in my bedroom, which was also my grandparents' bedroom, because they kept me close to them. I suffered from asthma from right about the age of 5 onward to 16. And I remember this one night when I was 16, I was in my bed, and I hadn't slept in 2 days. I'd been struggling for breath for 2 whole days, and I was exhausted. And it was evening time, and I could hear Grandma and Grandpa out in the kitchen having their nightly cup of tea and talking. And thankfully, Grandpa had fixed back on the bed that's slanted so I could sleep sitting up. There's no laying down when you have asthma because there just wasn't. And this was in the days before the major inhalers and all the things they have now. So it was really, really bad. I did recall leaning back and trying to get some sleep. And then all of a sudden the bedroom filled up with the golden glow again. And next to my bed this time I saw the being. There's a tall, slim man, and he had on a white robe, and I remember around his waist was a brown rope knotted belt that just hung down out of sight toward the floor. Had beautiful wavy brown hair and the kindest, gentlest blue-green eyes that I'd ever seen. I remember he leaned down and placed his hand on my forehead, and I could feel his touch. It was warm and very loving once again, and then I almost felt like I was glowing, and he whispered in my mind, "Remember me, dear one?" And I nodded, and he said, "Close your eyes and go to sleep. You are healed." And I just went to sleep. I did what he said. And then I woke up the next morning, and I remembered from being 4 that was no dream that I'd had. And I remember getting up out of bed and suddenly realizing that I was able to breathe normally. I wasn't gasping for breath anymore, and I felt healthier than I had in a long time. I remember a week or so later, I threw out every bit of my asthma medicine, some disgusting red medicine that the doctor gave me. I tried not to take, but it made me so I was able to breathe, but it also really made you sick. I'd never told anybody again about that visitation or any of the other experiences, and I was taken to the doctor, and the doctor said that I was a miracle, that nobody was healed from asthma.
Marilou, stand by, my dear. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation. Okay. Marilou Trask-Curtin is our special guest. She's the author of In My Grandfather's House, Catskill Journal. It's available at Amazon.com. What a great story. We'll be back on the other side of this news break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
And welcome back, everyone. Wow, our guest this hour has got me in goosebumps over here. Marilou Trask-Curtin is our very special guest. She is the author of In My Grandfather's House, a Catskill Journal. It's available at Amazon.com. Or from her publisher, ProStar Publications. I've got to tell you something, Marilou. When I was a young boy growing up in Montreal, I've got a younger brother who, God bless him, if anything could go wrong with a young child, it went through my brother. There was one time way back when, this is going back to the early 50s, as you may recall, baby food was in cans. And at the time, they didn't have the protective insulation and coatings that they have on cans today. And my brother was the recipient of a very, very bad case of ptomaine poisoning. In fact, it's a wonder that he lived. And the story that goes along with it was my mother and father rushed my younger brother to the hospital, and all my aunts and uncles congregated at my grandmother's home, and I know now that they were expecting the worst. But I'll never forget this as long as I live, and I've told this story before where they were in the kitchen talking, and then I saw this man in the kitchen, and he was not unlike the man that touched you. In fact, very similar. All he did was he looked at me from across the room and smiled at me. And I knew instinctively everything was going to be all right. My grandmother looked at me and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm smiling at the man over there." And she looked, and apparently there was nothing where I was looking at and smiling. And when I looked back, the gentleman had gone. But at that very moment, the phone rang. And it was my mom and dad from the hospital saying my brother was going to be all right.
Wow.
Then there was another time. Once again, my brother, God bless him, there was so much wrong with him. I just thank the good Lord that he's all right today. Mm-hmm. I woke up, it was early morning, and I saw what I can only describe as, you may find this a little strange, but my interpretation of the Virgin Mary.
Oh.
Bending over him praying. Now, we weren't Catholic. I told my grandmother this, who was a very knowledgeable person, and she said that was his guardian angel watching over him.
Wow. But you told, though, see?
Yeah.
I kept all... I didn't dare tell anybody. But that's an amazing story. Now I've got goosebumps.
You know, so when it comes to these stories that I've had the honor of people sharing with me over the last 20 years doing this show, I have a hard time when I'm out and I'm doing lectures or meet and greets and people say, "Oh, come on. how can this be real? Unless you have the experience, unless you want to have the experience, unless you open your heart to the possibilities that are endless in this existence of ours, you won't know for sure, but just open up your heart. Believe the impossible can happen, because it does.
Yes, it does.
When did you first open up and share these wonderful experiences with other people?
Well, it wasn't until, I think recently, actually, because, you now have such a proliferation of shows on television. We have ghost hunters, and we have people doing all sorts of things. And I think it was really just a couple years ago that I dared to talk to people, that I know about this. And a lot of them do that thing. They look at you like, what? You're insane, you're crazy, and they go hiding back, and they live in little boxes, and they don't come out of those boxes.
How do you feel about sharing your stories with people who are willing to listen and who are willing to believe?
Oh, I love it. That's why I love being able to be on a show like this. It's just a soul-freeing experience, and I'm hoping that what it does is helps other people. Like you said, that you're not alone, and that there is so much more to this existence than we see with our, few senses that we have. There is something beyond the normal, paranormal. There is something more, and I'm living proof of it, and, you are, and millions of others.
That's right.
Too.
We are no longer the silent majority.
No, and that's good.
It's great.
It's a wonderful thing. It is great.
Let me ask you something. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Oh, yes. I do, and that's something that didn't come to me until, I say life falls into certain areas where, you meet the people that you need to meet to have the experiences that you are going to have. And I came upon reincarnation back in the early 80s. I met a woman at my work, actually, who looked at me and started talking about being an old soul and so forth and so on. And then after that, I started to have the most vivid dreams, dreams of places with beautiful gardens and pyramids and loving people. And it was I did not know the name of this place, but anyways, at the time, simultaneously, I had decided that I had needed to go to a counselor at one point because I was having some issues with my mother and things of that nature that I needed to iron out. So I went to a local establishment, and I went into this room and talked to this man, and I don't know how we did, but somehow the conversation segued away from whatever I needed the counseling for. That became secondary. The thing that we started talking about was, his ghostly experiences he'd had and so forth, and I was totally amazed at that. And then he said, I would like you to come to my office because, and I'll never forget his words to me, no one comes to me by mistake, Marilou. And I didn't quite know what that meant until I got to his office, and I sat down on the couch, and he said, I want to talk to you about your way back past. And I didn't understand again what he was talking about. He said, reincarnation, Marilou, past lives. We can't all get it right in one lifetime. There is no way we can do it. Now, of course, in my mind, being the fine, upstanding Catholic girl, we weren't taught to believe in this stuff.
Right.
This was way outside the realm of anything I had ever dealt with. And he said, listen, I know that you're an old soul. Now, that's the second time I've heard that in about a month's time. And he said, and I would dearly love to do a regression session with you. I instantly trusted this man, but yet I needed to know if he had the credentials to do this, and I checked that out. And yes, he had all these things on his wall. He was a certified hypnotherapist. He was a social worker, and all this kind of thing. So I said I would give it a try, but if I didn't like it, please could we stop? Okay, fine. He lit a white candle on the table. And he got out a tape recorder. He said, I'm going to record some of this, if you don't mind. Sure. And then he said, you can close your eyes, keep them open, but relax. And you're going to hear the sound of my voice only, and hold on to my voice because it's your link and everything to this side of the realm where you're going. So he started counting backwards from 10, and I can't really describe this. Once again, this is like what you said before. Unless you've gone through this past life regression, you don't understand what the feelings are. But the best way that I can explain it, it's like the feeling of being asleep and dreaming, but you're awake and experiencing. It's like having your feet in two different worlds. The scenes in front of me, I felt myself in the scenes, every nuance, I could smell the smells, feel the sun on me, all those kind of things. And we went through a great many things. There were many other sessions after this. I was totally amazed. At one point, I spoke in a language. I believe he said it must have been Old Welsh. I have no idea how to speak Old Welsh, the old language in this lifetime. But yet there was my voice on the recorder speaking in this language as a young girl growing up in 13th century Wales. And I didn't understand what I was saying, but I knew in my head that I was talking about that basically what it was an illegitimate pregnancy that I had gotten involved in, and I died in childbirth in that lifetime, alone in a castle, and then years later found out which castle it was, which was another amazing experience. But this man led me through all of these lifetimes, which turned out to be 12, and I tell you, one portal after another, from the time I was 4 until the present, just seemed to open up and open up. And these are things that I was totally skeptical of, never heard of, never believed in, until I experienced it.
How does it feel knowing that you've lived before and in all likelihood you will live again?
Well, I think it makes me realize, like I said, that I for some reason I didn't get everything right the last time, so or these other times, and with these people that I needed to interact with. But it makes you feel connected, more connected than if I didn't believe, I guess. It's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine at some point. All right, if there is reincarnation, which a lot of people are extremely skeptical of, but for myself believing it, then I have to believe that somewhere in Wales or somewhere in any other country or place, there's probably a cemetery plot with my body in it from another lifetime. I mean, that was the most eerie thing. But yet to feel a connection and to know that you come back each time to learn lessons and to re-meet the people that you've had problems with, re-meet the people that you've loved, and everything. It's just a beautiful continuity, and I'm at peace with that.
Do you fear dying?
No, you don't feel, no. With the experiences I've had, that's one of the messages I've always wanted to get out, and one of the things that happened in another near-death experience I had. But when you come back from, like, the pneumonia thing, or I had a near-death experience in a car accident and my angel came back again, you realize that death is just a transition. Birth was a transition to get to the earthly plane. Death is just another transition. So no, you have no fear.
I often use the example of death being a metamorphosis, like the caterpillar entering the cocoon. And we come out as a whole spirit.
Right, and that whole spirit comes from the experiences and the hardships and the joys and the love and everything else that we accumulate through every lifetime. At least, that's what I feel for myself. And when you are totally done with your lessons, you get to go to that beautiful place, which, as I said, there was that other near-death experience I keep going back to in the car accident, where I went to heaven and was taken by my angel to heaven and came back with knowledge and understanding that everything is there. The most beautiful thing of all of it, Rob, is that love never dies. The love that you experienced in any lifetime or this one, anything, never dies. even your pets. When I went on the other side after that and my brief journey there, all my pets were there too, which was amazing. So,
tell me, did you want to come back?
No, I did not want to come
No
back
way.
from that. I really quickly, my angel took me to the other side, flew through this thing into this beautiful, once again, a meadow. So I'm assuming a meadow means something to me, a sunlit summer meadow. But all my friends, my family, my grandparents, my pets, everybody mind communicates. There is no talking, as I said. And my angel said, when I said I want to stay, I wanted to go hug my grandmother and my grandfather and my cats and my dogs. And the angel stopped me and put his hand on my shoulder, and my mind said, no, you can't touch them, and they can't touch you. You have to leave. You have a lot of other things to do. You have to teach. You have to let people know about this place. And, I was crying. I was sobbing because, my grandparents were there in the meadow, seated in chairs, and I couldn't get to them. It was like a wall. But around that meadow was that golden light, and that light was full of just unconditional love and peace and beauty. And all these people that had passed, some of them had been older, they looked, I would say their ages were no more than 35 or 40.
Marilou, stand by, my dear. You and I have to take our final break. Exonation Marilou Trask-Curtin is our special guest. Her book is entitled In My Grandfather's House, a Catskill Journal. It's available on Amazon.com and from her publisher, ProStar Publications. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Exonation Marilou Trask-Curtin is our special guest this hour. Her website, well, she doesn't have one right now, but her book, In My Grandfather's House, a Catskill Journal, is available on Amazon.com. And from her publisher, ProStar Publications, once again, Marilou's book is entitled In My Grandfather's House, a Catskill Journal. What would you like to share with the listeners?
Well, one of the things I would love to share is the message that I would love to get out here. I would love everybody to be thankful for the miracle that they are and be truly loving and live their dreams. Never give up your dreams. Keep your hope alive. Talk to angels. And very strangely enough, accept the good and the bad things that come into your life because they're all there for a reason. And understand, mostly understand that death is not to be feared. It is simply a transition like your birth was to the earth plane. And most of all, believe deeply in love because it is truly eternal.
Why do you think we fear death so much?
I think we fear the attachments that we formed on Earth, and we don't want to leave those. Doesn't matter what it is, a home, a job, family, friends. those things are familiar. Death is unfamiliar to many, and there are many souls that are back for the first, they're here for the first time. They're not back. They're new souls. But I think it's the attachments that we fear losing, not realizing, of course, that the attachments are still always there, and that we can visit the earth plane, but, if you believe in reincarnation as I do, you will be back, again. You may not remember some of it, and things may take a while, but you'll be back and you'll go through this again. But death is not to be feared. It is peace. It is peaceful. And it is a beautiful place. The other side is a beautiful place.
We've got about 40 seconds left. Have you been able to communicate with your grandfather and grandmother on the other side?
Yes, I have. My grandfather came to me about a year after he passed and came into the house where I was sitting and just put his hand on my shoulder. He came with the smell of cigarette smoke and new mown grass, and I knew it was him, and he was just very loving and reassuring to me. And my grandmother the same way. Her presence smells of apple pie and all the things that she used to bake. And they both are very loving presences in my life still to this day.
I want to thank you ever so much for joining us, Marilou. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your life. And take care of yourself, and I wish you the very best of success with your book. In my grandfather's house, a Catskill Journal.
Thank you, Rob.
You take care of yourself now. Exo Nation, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the hour as the Exo continues from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the Exo. Don't go away.